Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent, the largest pure-play solar distributor in the Americas. Welcome back to the Beyond Emissions podcast, available at Spotify, also as well right here at the Soligent YouTube channel. Like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment down below so you can be a part of our ongoing conversation about what it's going to take to create a world that is beyond emissions. And every single day we're in this renewable energy business doing exactly that, creating an emissions-free future. Exciting. Our special guest today to have on the program from Your Solar Mate, also available at yoursolarmate.com. Go check them out. Doing the dirty work in a clean industry. Their founder, Greg Katchatorian, and I have been friends for quite a while. And I recently was introduced to Katherine Dextraze, the president of Your Solar Mate, and asked her to come on the Beyond Emissions podcast because there's so many things to talk about. We talk about oftentimes, the technology that's going to get us to that emissions-free future, that beyond emissions world. The inverters, the batteries, the solar panels, all the cool innovations happening in our industry. But what about the business of the renewable energy business, the interconnection agreements, navigating the rebate processing, especially, and we're going to touch on this with Katherine Dextraze, president of Your Solar Mate today, in regards to some of the rebates that are special. And they're all special, but I'm thinking of some of the really special rebates that are difficult to navigate for the average solar business owner. And that, for example, the one that comes to mind, and if you're in California, you know what I'm talking about. There's an abundance of money, over nearly $1 billion available through California's SGIP, Self-Generation Incentive Program. Available for rebates for customers who utilize energy storage. But accessing and getting those funds available for your customers is so difficult to navigate the process that oftentimes the average solar business owner and installer selling solar and energy storage is not able to access those funds. So I thought it would be beneficial to not just talk about creating our emissions-free future by discussing the technology, batteries, solar, and innovations like we normally do, but to focus on the business part of the renewable energy business. And that's why our friend Katherine Dextraze here with us, president of Your Solar Mate on the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent. Thanks again for joining us, Katherine. Welcome to the Beyond Emissions podcast.
Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate you paving the way.
It's awesome. I love what we get to do every day. Our listeners are contractors and installers that tune in to the Beyond Emissions podcast every single week at the Soligent YouTube channel. And they love listening. They learn about new batteries, new technologies, new solar innovations in the industry and stuff like that. But sometimes we gloss over what is probably some of the most important parts of our business, and that's the business side of things and navigating all of the interconnect agreements, trying to get the rebates for customers, especially. We'll talk about that today. The SGIP program for storage in California, lots of money and opportunities to, help empower customers to engage in this, renewable energy economy and incentives available, but it's difficult to access all of that. And sometimes not even including the rebates and stuff, the business of the renewable energy business can be tough, even when it's just going, pertaining to like interconnection agreements and things like that. And for our listeners who are tuning in today that own solar businesses or manage a solar business, that's what we're going to focus on today. That's your specialty. Talk a little bit about that. Introduce yourself to our listeners here at the Soligent Beyond Emissions podcast. Tell them who you are and what does your SolarMate do? I mean, it's really handling the dirty work in a clean industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Josh. So my name is Catherine Dextraze. As Josh has pointed out, I'm leading the team at SolarMate. And your SolarMate really identified some of the key issues, some of the key frictions that homeowners and installers were facing when trying to adopt solar, when trying to go green. And that came down to the headache that's involved with interconnection agreements, with trying to navigate, which rebates am I eligible for? How do I apply for them? How do I make sure that I actually get my money from the state or from the federal government? So on and so forth. And so what we work on is really enabling that, streamlining that, and making that a more reliable process for the installer and the homeowner so that it's like nobody files their taxes themselves. Nobody should be doing interconnection themselves. You should reach out to somebody who has that level of experience. We have over a decade of experience handling this type of process. And so we know exactly how to navigate it, what to look out for, what bumps in the road we might face, and how to make sure that we get your permission to operate or get your rebate approved as quickly as possible.
And that can be quite a nightmare, especially if what you're wanting to do, listeners, is, and by the way, thanks again for tuning in today at the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent. Catherine Dextraze, president from Your SolarMate, assisting us today in learning more about the business of the renewable energy business. You want to spend your time out there talking to customers and getting them to adopt the idea of being empowered by solar and energy storage. You don't want to spend all your time in the office doing paperwork. Your SolarMate, that's a big part of that. Application processing, right to operate paperwork for the customer, newly installed PV or energy storage systems to connect to the grid. Getting customers to not be bogged down in that paperwork. That can be very freeing, right?
We would hope so. We have seen that, a number of our customers really appreciate the services that we offer, and we do help to reduce that headache that a lot of installers face when they're trying to get a hold of the utility, trying to manage this process, and of course the homeowner's frustrated that they haven't been able to turn on their system yet. So we, work really hard and have developed expertise throughout the U.S. to make sure that the permission to operate gets approved as quickly as possible and that the utility can't hold anything over anybody's head.
Right, and now there's a paper trail as well that you keep track of for the customer, for the client, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So we manage a lot of that paperwork. We help make sure that all the documents are signed appropriately. We review single line diagrams. We review all of the required documents to make sure that everything is going to go smoothly when we apply for utility interconnection.
I'm telling you, folks, go to yoursolarmate.com today and find out more. You can spend more time selling systems and empowering customers to help us create this emissions-free future, this world that is beyond emissions. You can spend most of your time doing that, and your SolarMate, for a very affordable fee, can assist you in processing those interconnection applications, the rebate processing, consulting, etc., dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's. Big advantage. Go to yoursolarmate.com today. They are not affiliated with Soligent. I, as energy storage manager here at Soligent, just happen to have a friendship with their founder for over a decade now, Greg Kachatorian, and so I reached out, and Catherine was kind enough to come on the program. So we don't offer their services; they're not connected with Soligent. But as energy storage manager and with a history with their founder and knowing the value that they offer, I want you, the listeners, I want you, our Soligent customers, to know about it, because you're going to sell more products. You're going to empower more customers, and we're going to fast track our way quicker, faster, and better towards this beyond emissions future. Katherine Dextraze, president of your SolarMate, here on the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent, the largest pure-play solar distributor in the Americas. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here, Katherine. Katherine, we normally start off the show like this, and listeners, type down your thoughts in the comment section in our social media or the YouTube comment section below. What does beyond emissions mean for you? Katherine, what does beyond emissions mean for you?
That's a great question, Josh. I think it's something, we all spend a lot of time thinking about in this industry. And for me, beyond emissions is maybe more about being able to capture or reuse the emissions that we do produce. Because there are always going to be some level of emissions, right? But I am really fascinated by some of the carbon capture type technologies that are out there. I actually did a small project several years ago with a carbon capture company that was based near Texas. And so, I think obviously facilitating the move to minimize emissions is really important, but finding a way that we can trap those or, reuse them in some way is also just very, very cool.
You're absolutely correct. A complete and total carbon-free future would be a future free of human beings, because the exhaust coming from us, our breathing out is carbon dioxide, right? So, I mean, when you think about it, it's a vital part. That's part of photosynthesis. That carbon is captured along with the sunlight and water, and a plant is able to exhale oxygen and store that carbon in the plant, in the ground, etc. It's a part of our natural process here on Earth. But we've artificially inflated the amount of carbon in our atmosphere, in our world, through fossil fuels. And not to demonize fossil fuels, because it's how we've gotten the technological capabilities to be where we are today. But like Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. And so we're further down the road. Or like Zig Ziglar said, when you get as far as you can see, you can always see further. And we're at the end of the road, and we can see further. We're not going to eliminate carbon or emissions altogether, but a beyond emissions future means that our primary energy source will not be derived from something that has been in the ground for millions of years, or took millions of years to get there, and then pulled out of the ground, burned one day, one time, one use. That's it. That's all the energy you're going to get from it. And then, causes issues by inflating the amount of that fossil fuel off gas into our atmosphere and into our environment and into our world. Instead, we're going to have our primary energy source be solar, wind, energy storage. I mean, the Department of Energy, you're talking about carbon capture and recycling that energy value for a second use. That technology that you're talking about, what you did in Texas, Katherine, amazing. Lots of different hydrogen fuel cells, hydrogen derived from electrolyzers, not by fossil fuels. Amazing, the gravity energy storage with big giant weights, hydroelectric. There's geothermal. I mean, the list goes on and on. Nuclear, even if there's some nuclear out there that can be brought into this discussion. First Ignition, Department of Energy, the other day, giving a round of applause to those at, I think it was at Los Alamos Lab, the first steps towards a potential of using clean energy from fusion. Wow, beyond emissions means so much, doesn't it? Like, there's so much in this world ahead of us where we're going to have unlimited clean energy. And that means better for the economy, better for people, better for our health, and better for the environment, right?
Absolutely. Completely agree with you, Josh. I think that's why we're all a part of this and all very passionate about it. And to your point, there's so many options we have for generating energy that have been minimized and underutilized. And obviously, our carbon derived sources are highly inefficient, and we have so many other options available to us. And so I'm really excited to be part of this community that's looking at other options and finding ways for us to be more sustainable and be able to, keep the home that we love as healthy as possible.
And one of the ways that we're helping empower people to participate in this beyond emissions future, this creating this clean energy future that we're in the middle of creating right now, is, adoption of incentives economically to help people, nudge them in that direction, whether it's electrical vehicles, home electrification programs, taking advantage of rebate programs in the different states for energy storage or for solar, all kinds of stuff when it comes to incentives are available because people in all the states of California, probably leading the way, but all the states have their differing rebate programs, incentives, including the federal government. People don't even realize this, that the federal government's IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, it included so many different incentives for manufacturing of renewable energy products, solar panels, energy storage to come back to the United States. That's going to be amazing. But in addition, standalone energy storage, even if you can't have solar, but you might be able to use energy storage along with a hybrid inverter charger like the Solarc or something like that to charge the batteries when the rates are low and discharge the batteries when the rates are high. I mean, just it boggles the mind, all the different incentives and rebates that are happening in all the states around our country. And your SolarMate actually goes a long way to help customers have access to those incentives with your helping with some of the rebate processing, providing application processing for state rebate programs, SGIP, we can go into that in just a little bit, equity resiliency programs. Wow, we're going to go deep into that, just the value people can glean from that program in order to empower themselves and having energy storage. Amazing. EV, electrical vehicle state rebates. Your SolarMate president, Katherine Dextraze, with us today on the Beyond Emissions podcast. Rebate processing. It's a nightmare sometimes there's a lot of money out there. And it's a nightmare sometimes for business owners to help facilitate getting that money and incentives and rebates into the hands of the customer so they can utilize it and partake in this clean economy that we're trying to create. You help people through that with getting those incentives in the hands of customers at your SolarMate, right, Katherine?
Yes, absolutely. So that is another one of our key services that we provide. It's one of the favorite services that we provide, being able to help homeowners, and there are even incentives available for contractors too, to help with specifically battery storage. And so happy to discuss that further. It's actually in California, this self-generation program, the SGIP program, it's actually legally mandated that utilities allocate this money to help adoption of battery storage systems. So it's very unfortunate that it gets so complicated, but we are here to help.
Yeah, I mean, between you and me and the fence post, I wish that your SolarMate wasn't needed, right? I wish, as a resident, I live in California, I wish that I could go and buy the batteries and fill out a little form, send it in, and have them send me a check for the rebate. I mean, I wish it was that easy, but it's not. And I have talked to some major companies who have lots of experience here in California. And they asked me, here's what I did. Full disclosure, I'm energy storage manager at Soligent. And not only am I here as a resource to help customers and teammates and vendors and really move the ball forward in selling more energy storage and expanding energy storage out there in the market with getting it in the hands of many customers, as many as possible. But what I did as far as a customer outreach to try to, start really talking to people, because that's what I realized. Everyone tells me we don't know how to access it. We don't want to mess with it. So I went on the CPUC website, the California Public Utilities Commission website, and I found a list of every single solar installer in California that has gotten SGIP funds for their customers. In other words, they know how to do it. They've done it. And I thought, oh wow, we'll help a lot more people, sell a lot of batteries. Everyone's going to be happy. I'll contact all of them since they've already navigated the SGIP program for energy storage rebates in California. So I went down and I emailed every single, like 300 and something people, Katherine. I emailed them all, and I had a plethora of these people who have already participated in the program, or they wouldn't have their name on this list. And they've all told me to a T, yeah, this is a nightmare. There's got to be an easier way. I don't want anything to do with it. Comments like that. We're talking $1 billion for energy storage in California with the SGIP rebate program. It's just sitting there to help us sell batteries, help installers sell batteries, and empower customers. And yet their response at large, out of 300 people who are on the SGIP installer list at the CPUC, and they all, like to a T, talk about how they don't want anything to do with it because it's so difficult. That's crazy. But that also provides an opportunity where if those customers were to utilize your SolarMate to help them get access to those funds, there might be a different story. Talk a little bit about that. What you guys do to make that whole process easier.
That is absolutely our goal, is to make that process easier, to make it less of a headache, and to help more homeowners and contractors access the funds that all citizens should be able to access, right? So we work on, of course, reviewing, documenting all of that paperwork, making sure that everything is, properly submitted. Like you mentioned, the first thing that a contractor would have to do is make sure that they are approved on the SGIP approved list. And of course, Josh, you managed to navigate that yourself, trying to look for specific rebates. And so, once the contractor has been approved and is on the SGIP approved list, then we can move forward with those projects. And, we help provide guidance and recommendations on exactly which rebate we believe the homeowner or we believe the project is eligible for. And so that eligibility piece can also be a little bit complex, but we have quite a bit of experience managing through this. So we can provide guidance on what kind of documentation is needed, what type of references are needed to sort of make sure that the customer is getting the highest rebates that they possibly can.
And to give you all and I received this from your SolarMate, Katherine sent it over. If you want a copy of this, just reach out to Katherine, yoursolarmate.com, info@yoursolarmate.com, and they'll get in touch with you. But let me go through some of this. I'm going to stick with PG&E. You show San Diego, you show Southern California Edison, but here's PG&E. Majority or a lot of California is going to fall into that bucket. So we'll just do that for the example's sake. So folks, follow along real quick. Katherine Dextraze, president of Your SolarMate, with us today at the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent. Find out more, click on the link below, get connected with Katherine, click on the link below to find out more. But we're talking about the self-generation incentive program, $1 billion of funding available in California to help customers who want to adopt energy storage, a rebate program. Money is on the table. Let me tell you how much money. And again, this could vary depending on your customer's need, but we're going to give some examples from this table Katherine at Your Solar Mate sent me. PG&E customers who are residential customers who have less than 10 kilowatt hours, 10 kilowatt hours of storage, correct, Katherine? Is what I'm thinking there. It's storage, right?
Yes, that would be considered a kind of a standard residential project.
Okay. So if you have 10 kilowatt hours or less of storage, then you are, if you navigate this whole entire SGIP process and use your Solar Mate, which is what I recommend so that you can actually be out there selling instead of, mired down in all of the paperwork trying to figure it out. Go to yoursolarmate.com today to find out more. The money available if you have less than 10 kilowatt hours of storage, your customer, and the residential, is $150 per a kilowatt hour. Oh my gosh. So pull out the old calculator, Josh. So 150 times 10 kilowatt hours. That's $1,500 that your customer has the potential of getting a rebate back if they have that small of a system. So let's take a look at if it's a larger customer that has more than 10 kilowatt hours of energy storage. So let's call it, why don't we call it 30 kilowatt hours just for the heck of it? Say it's a large system. That's $250 per kilowatt hour under SGIP residential above 10 kilowatt hours of storage. So let's call that, actually let's say 20, make it easy, right, Katherine? So 20 kilowatt hours times $250 per kilo, that's $5,000 of potential rebate money that your customer can get to adopt energy storage through the self-generation incentive program. That can help you sell batteries. It can help you increase the ROI for your customer, especially under NEM 3 right now, where energy storage is vital rather than selling it back to the utility. You want to self-consume that. You need energy storage. The ROI is there with energy storage, but you take advantage of this SGIP funding in California, $5,000, that can increase the ROI in helping, sell that customer on why they should get solar plus storage, right, Katherine?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's absolutely correct, Josh. Thank you for walking everybody through that. So one thing I would like to bring up is with SGIP, there are multiple different budget categories, as we call them, which relates to the eligibility of your homeowner. So what Josh is referring to is sort of the pool of money that is available to a standard homeowner. So not someone who's low income, not someone who has some sort of medical rating, but instead just your average homeowner would be eligible for, let's say, between $1,400 to about $3,400 in cash rebates from the state through this program. So that's the typical range we see for our standard residential rebate.
Right, because that also matches up with the average sizes that folks are going to adopt for their purposes of having emergency power or having the ability to self-consume the energy instead of selling it back. Let's talk about equity resiliency. So you just mentioned customers who live in an area that had 2 or more public safety power shutoff events, or they're in a high fire threat district, or they meet the designation for being low income, eligible for medical baseline, evidence of serious illness that requires electricity, certain affordable housing incentives, low income, relying on electric well pumps. Those are all factors for equity resiliency criteria to qualify for SGIP under equity resiliency. Let me tell you, folks, if your customer qualifies under anything under that umbrella for equity resiliency, they are able to qualify to receive $1,000 per kilowatt hour. Oh my gosh. So, let's just say that we've got 10 kilowatt hours of storage for that customer who is in the equity resiliency, times 1,000, easy math, That's potentially $10,000 of rebate money available for that equity resiliency customer. Am I reading that correctly, Katherine?
Yes, absolutely, Josh. So the Equity Resiliency Program is what I think is a really great program that helps folks that have medical need or who are reliant on electricity for, their well pumps and really don't have other options. It helps them be more resilient in the face of a public shutoff event or some other issue with the grid. So those folks who we typically see that are most, I guess, slam dunk eligible, if you would say that, is folks who are on medical baseline as their electricity rate, and they live in a high tier 2 or tier 3 fire zone area, a high fire threat district. And so those folks, we will typically see them get rebates in the range of about $20,000 to up to $25,000. And so it's very, very helpful for them. They can breathe easier. Many of them are actually on equipment that does help them breathe. And so it's absolutely required that equipment stays on, through really any weather event or any grid event.
Wow. Knowing, what it takes to make that extra investment, to get the energy storage that a customer might need during a power outage or something like that, and they have a medical requirement. It's mission critical. It's their life. It's their health. And so they need the batteries. In addition, they might want to be self-consuming instead of sending it back for pennies on the dollar to the utility under NEM 3. And so they want to self-consume it as well. And so having that battery as a part of that system is a necessity, not just for ROI. But darn it, if you're getting $1,000 per kilowatt hour because you qualify under that umbrella of equity resiliency for the SGIP funding, $1,000 per kilowatt hour, wow, that practically can pay for some of those folks' entire investment. Wow, the ROI goes to the roof in a sense for some of those people, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, we are talking about folks who have a clear medical need or who maybe qualify as low income. And so in some ways, this rebate is the only way for them to establish resiliency in the event of some kind of a public shutoff.
Or you could be in Northern California in a high fire threat district. Or you could be in a place where you have had 2 or more public safety power shutoff events. So it doesn't even have to be a medical necessity. You could even qualify under those pieces of criteria as well, right?
Right, exactly. So with equity resiliency, you do need 2 separate criteria. So The first criteria will be the higher fire threat district or the PSPS event. And then the secondary criteria would be medical baseline, low income, or low income and reliant on a well pump.
Thank you for the clarification.
Obviously, it gets very nuanced, which is where that's where we come into play, is having that expertise.
Your solar mate, Katherine Dextraze, president of Your Solar Mate, doing the dirty work in a clean industry here on the Beyond Emissions podcast. Wow, thank you for that clarification. It is difficult to navigate. If you didn't explain that right now, I might have thought that you just had to have one of those pieces of criteria. But nevertheless, I mean, some of that medical equipment could be a CPAP machine. I don't know about you, but if you're being treated for sleep apnea and you don't have your CPAP machine, you're not sleeping. It's more likely to send you into a situation where you could have heart trouble. I mean, lots of issues, falling asleep at the wheel while you're driving. I have a CPAP machine for my sleep apnea. And so I know exactly how people feel when that is not available. And if the power goes down and they don't have access to that medical necessity, that can be major problems. And then you have people who are on dialysis. It just runs the gamut. Now, if folks want to have access to the information you're providing today, like, for example, the eligibility requirements for equity resiliency to get that $1,000 per kilowatt hour rebate available under SGIP in California for energy storage, or regular residential systems, 10 kW of kilowatt hours of storage or larger, $250 per kilowatt hour rebate possible, and $150 for less than 10 kilowatt hours of storage per kilowatt hour. There is nearly $1 billion of funds available. And if folks want to get this information from you, have a talk with you about it, maybe a presentation for their team, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, Katherine?
Yeah, thank you, Josh. You can always reach out to us at info@yoursolarmates.com. And I or one of my teammates will get back to you as quickly as possible and help guide you through this very complex process and hopefully get you the rebate that you need and make sure that your interconnection goes smoothly as well.
Excellent. Yoursolarmate.com is the website. Email them. Katherine, Dextraze, president of Your Solar Mate. Click on the link below as well to be connected and find out more. Now, we don't get this done for free, but when you're helping a customer get back, equity resiliency customer, let's say with that medical baseline and those other criteria, $1,000 per kilowatt hour, or even $250 or $150 a kilowatt hour, depending on the size for the residential customer under the SGIP rebate program for energy storage in California. The fee you guys charge to handle all of that is very, very, very affordable. It's a drop in the bucket versus what they're going to get back for their customers to empower them to get energy storage under SGIP in California. Your fees are very, very reasonable. I'm looking at standard residential for self-generation incentive program, SGIP rebate processing, less than 10 kW, only charge $500 for that, or more than 10 kW, only charge $800. For the equity resiliency residential customer, less than 10 kW is only $1,200, and more than 10 kW of storage is $1,400. But that's a drop in the bucket compared to what the customer can get if they are successful through this rebate processing application by going down this path, right? Talk a little bit about that. It's totally worth it. Very reasonable, Katherine.
Well, thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. We're here to help citizens access the funds that they should already have access to. So we're not in the business of gouging anybody, for sure. And I would also like to highlight that there are some newer incentive programs that are being rolled out. So, for instance, in the Southern California Edison territory, they have just announced a new incentive for new home builders. And the rebate actually goes directly to the contractor. So if you are working on building a new home, if you work, with building out new planned communities, and you're planning to incorporate solar and battery as you need to because Title 24, we can help you navigate this new program that SCE has just announced. And then there's another budget program called the equity budget. It's confusing because equity resiliency is different from equity. Don't worry, we can help you through that. But the equity budget is going to be revamped later this year to be a little bit easier for people to access. And that will also be available to schools and small businesses as well as residential homeowners.
Wow. So if you're listening right now, and you want to empower your customers to embrace energy storage, solar, and you, like most folks, have a tough time navigating the processing of the applications, getting the rebates for you, your customers. There's a whole host of incentives that are available for you and your customers. Wow, new home builders. that goes straight to that rebate she's talking about, goes straight to the contractor. That is kind of cool. Wow. So I mean, when you really think about it, partnering with a company like your SolarMate can help facilitate more sales and helping more customers out there, increasing the profitability of your business. But in addition, giving you the competitive edge to add that additional value and offer that to your customers. Because in a sense, that's really what it is. It's a value that you're helping companies offer to their customers, right?
That is exactly what we want to drive, right? We're all here to make this adoption process as frictionless as possible. And we want to make sure that our partners, the contractors that we work with, do have a competitive edge. And we see that happen. We have several contractors that have been, very successful in certain territories because they know that we will reliably be able to deliver the PTO on time and the rebate.
Now, we've been talking about rebates, and I had to go there first, Katherine. Katherine Dextraze, president of your SolarMate, here on the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent. Soligent YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Any questions, click on the link below or type in the comment section below. I had to go there first, Katherine, talking about the rebates because that's the money, right? That's the money part of it. And I had to go there first because but there's so much more value that your company offers doing the dirty work in a clean industry. Interconnection processing services, and not only in California, but in all over the United States, right? Solar battery systems. If you're installing all these, the interconnection agreements can be a nightmare as well if you're doing it by yourself. The interconnection processing. I'm seeing some great pricing all the way from $300 all the way up to $900, depending on the different size of the system. But your fees, again, very reasonable when you really think about what you're taking off of the installer, the contractor's plate, and how you're really empowering them to be more profitable by helping them take care of that interconnection processing. All across the United States, all across the land, you take care of the interconnection processing at your SolarMate for a very reasonable fee. Talk about that, and also, countrywide throughout the United States of America, not just California. Talk a little bit about that interconnection processing assistance that you provide from your SolarMate.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. So, to feed back into our rebate discussion, having that final PTO is required to finish your rebate processing as well. So there are often times where our services dovetail and our team works seamlessly to make sure that those two endpoints are happening as quickly as possible. So that's specifically in California with the SGIP rebate. For the rest of the country, we also offer interconnection services. We have process interconnection in almost every state in the U.S., I think, except for Alaska. So we have experience navigating this process with the different utilities. So we found that especially as our clients grow and as they start to expand into different territories, into different counties, the value that we provide is we're managing all of that paperwork processing across multiple different utilities. So we're saving them hours, weeks, months of work, and doing it in a way that really minimizes the headache, right? There's so much follow-up with the utility. There's so much paperwork that has to be tracked and, quality assurance on this and making sure this detail is right. And our team has, years and years of experience doing this. They are really excellent, very focused, very detail-oriented. And so they're able to deliver a service that feels seamless, despite the fact that there is so much going on behind the scenes. But imagine, if you are a contractor trying to do what you are best at, which is, selling and installing and designing systems, you don't have to worry about all of the rest of this paperwork that can be extremely distracting and difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to maintain a great relationship with your customers, installers, contractors, Soligent customers listening right now for solar and energy storage. You want to have a great relationship with your customer. You want to be spending time working on the rapport with your customer, finding out what their needs are and customizing a system for them and making them happy and getting a system installed, and having to spend all that extra time that we do in this business every single day with interconnection processing, rebate processing, all the paperwork, the dirty work in a green industry, right, Katherine? Your SolarMate takes that off the plate. I think I came up with a new slogan. Your SolarMate takes all that off the plate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of our contractors did feel like their plate was overflowing, especially with the volume of NEM2, and utilities were rolling out, especially, I'm speaking specifically in California, but utilities were rolling out new rules and new specifications every other week, it felt like. So being able to keep track of, what does the utility want now, or, what kind of equipment do they want me to use now, it's literally a full-time job. So for our clients who are looking to grow more quickly and really want to focus on the client service aspect of their business, we can help enable that growth so they can still deliver great service without having to continually add new people who do just this one specific thing, who are maybe just good at PG&E, or maybe they're just good at, Tucson in Arizona.
Right. Regionally, they might be specialists, but not at large. But you might have a company that operates in multiple states, not just Tucson, Arizona, as an example. And so you need to have the know-how of how to navigate all of that paperwork and all the interconnection processing and rebate processing, et cetera, in maybe multiple states. And an entity like your SolarMate can take that off your plate. Consulting as well. Katherine Dextraze, president of Your SolarMate, with us. Thanks so much for being here on the Beyond Emissions by Soligent podcast, Katherine. Consulting. That's worth its weight in gold as well. You provide consulting services for key clients on an as-needed basis to guide clients on how best to manage changes in interconnection and rebate policies. Like you mentioned, state to state, or even in your state where you're at, things are always changing. Consulting, you offer that as well for the solar contractor and installer and solar company from Your SolarMate. Talk a little bit about consulting, Katherine.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Thank you for bringing that up. So obviously I've brought up a couple of changes to the rebate opportunities that there are in California. I also made some mention of all of the changes we just saw between NEM2 and NEM3. And so, many of our clients come to us looking for guidance there, saying, how do I adapt? What do I need to do next? Or how can I train my sales team so that they're more effective, so that they are more educated on the eligibility for rebates, making sure that they're going to the right regions, the right counties where we can get those rebates, those higher rebates to folks. And so that's where some of our key clients really come to see us as trusted advisors.
That is awesome. Your SolarMate, go to info@yoursolarmate.com and your email, type that in, info@yoursolarmate.com, doing the dirty work in a clean industry. Your SolarMate, taking all of the rebate processing and interconnection headaches off your plate. Consulting, they do it all. Amazing services that can help empower you to be more competitive and profitable and helpful for your customers. Go to yoursolarmate.com today to find out more, or to find out more directly, just email Katherine Dextraze president of Your Solar Mate, at info@yoursolarmate.com. You're listening to the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent, the largest pure-play solar distributor in the Americas. Thanks so much for being here. Katherine, thank you for being here. What a great resource and information you provided today. Your Solar Mate is amazing. Before we go, though, I got in a Tesla for the very first time, like an X-Wing Tesla. An Uber picked me up in Texas. It was so cool. It felt like I was in a spaceship, man. EV state rebates. I noticed that on one of your slides for your company overview for rebate processing, electrical vehicle state rebates. To help customers. I'm assuming that's charging and vehicles, or how does that work exactly? Forgive me, I don't know enough about electrical vehicle rebates.
So the EV rebates have also been something that, people have seen some changes on there. And we are happy to help homeowners who are maybe installing an energy storage system in combination or in preparation for an electric vehicle. So the EV rebates available through the state of California are also cash rebates, and then there are federal incentives as well. There are some different specifications there because the requirement is they have to be quote-unquote manufactured in the U.S. And so there are only a few models that fit that designation. But there's a few $1,000s that you can get off of the price of your new EV.
Wow. And that's something that you can help folks access, those rebates. That's amazing. It runs the gamut what Your Solar Mate does and the value you provide to those of us in this clean industry doing the dirty work in a clean industry. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you came on the Beyond Emissions podcast today. That's amazing. And it's affordable. It's a drop in the bucket what you have to pay for the very affordable fee that Your Solar Mate charges for all the work and value that they provide, which at the end of the day is just going to help you sell more solar, sell more energy storage, and help more people. Right, Katherine?
That is our goal, Josh. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. And then if folks want to find out more, they can go to yoursolarmate.com. Email Katherine Dextraze, president of Your Solar Mate, on the Beyond Emissions podcast today. Click on the link below, find out more, or email her directly at info@yoursolarmate.com. Curious, are there any other places that folks can go to learn more, videos or webinars or upcoming webinars and classes, or any other ways that they can learn more? Or what would you suggest as well, in addition, if there's anything that they might be able to do to learn more?
Yeah, of course, feel free to email us, and one of our team members or I will get back to you as soon as possible. We'd be happy to have an intro call to cover exactly what your specific situation might be. As I mentioned, there are a lot of nuances with all of these processes, so sometimes it's best to speak one-on-one to understand exactly what your needs are.
That's perfect. Yeah, the customization or personalization. I love that. Excellent. Katherine, thanks so much for joining us on the Beyond Emissions podcast. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And I look forward to working with you in just passing your information off to anyone that wants to find out more about it. I feel that the value that you provide is going to help empower us to empower our customers, and that'll help them help more customers to create this world that is beyond emissions. We're going to make it happen, Katherine. We're doing it, right? We're doing it, right?
We're doing it.
Awesome.
We're doing it, Josh.
I love it. Katherine, hang on the line for our engineers, and appreciate you very much. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Josh.
Katherine Dextraze, president of Your Solar Mate, doing the dirty work in a clean industry, helping you with interconnection processing, EV rebates, home electrification programs. In California, for energy storage, there's money available sitting on the table for your customers, whether regular residential or equity resiliency programs, to take advantage of nearly $1 billion to help buy energy storage. So there's lots of opportunities for you to talk with your solar mate. They provide all these and interconnection processing services and rebate processing services as well. All of it available. Go to yoursolarmate.com. Email Katherine at info@yoursolarmate.com. The fees they charge are very reasonable, especially compared to having a team of employees with overhead, etc. You can do all of that through a company like Your Solar Mate. I recommend them. I'm Josh Brumm, Energy Storage Manager and host here of the podcast Beyond Emissions by Soligent, the largest pure-play solar distributor in the Americas. Have a great day.
We at Soligent are incredibly excited to announce our partnership with GivePower. Well, we wouldn't be here today talking to you about GivePower if it wasn't for our partners, LoanPal. They've been with GivePower since the beginning. Their contribution has given water and light to countless people across the globe. We are truly inspired by LoanPal's dedication to the cause. Something LoanPal said really strikes a chord regarding GivePower, that this is something that's more than money. It's what makes making money more worthwhile. In a lot of ways, that's synonymous with what we're doing here at Soligent.
Here's how you can help.
What we've decided to do is compound LoanPal's contribution by donating to GivePower on every order paid via our direct pay program through LoanPal. That's right. Every time your company uses your LoanPal portal to pay Soligent for material, 5 people get clean drinking water for a full year.
Together we're stronger.
Together, we can choose to be extraordinary by giving to people who live outside our reach. To us, this means a lot.
Soligent's purpose meets GivePower's mission. Join the impact. Soligent, Solar Engine. SolarEngineSolutions.com. Go there to find out more. CALSA, CALSSA, stands for California Solar and Storage Association. Join over 700 companies, including Soligent, and become a CALSA member today. Go to www.calsa.org/join and enter Soligent as the discount code and receive 10% off your first year. Membership starts as low as $500 per year and covers you and your entire company. You can pay in monthly installments or once per year. Why join CALSA? For over 40 years, CALSA has been fighting for your rights in California. If you're an installer or contractor in California, it's CALSA working behind the scenes on your behalf to protect the solar and energy storage business you and your companies rely on each day. Imagine the utilities are totally unchecked without CALSA fighting for you. CALSA fights for your rights and also provides resources like direct one-on-one support from their experts to help you with your questions, navigating everything from NEM 3 to battery fire code compliance. CALSA will help you and your company to stay up to date on the latest policy changes that impact the California solar and storage market and your bottom line. Joining CALSA helps to fund their work to lobby for cutting solar and storage red tape, pass pro-solar laws, and to defend your business from attacks. Become a CALSA member today at www.calsa.org/join and enter the discount code Soligent to receive 10% off your first year. CALSA is fighting for you and your business. Join over 700 companies like Soligent and make a difference in the California solar and energy storage market today.